I paid for a private birthday dinner no one came to, but when they held a family night without me, I cut off every bill they forgot I covered. My name's Marcus, I'm 32, and for the last 10 years I've been the unofficial safety net for my family. You know how every family has that one person? The one who bails people out when bills fall through, who lends money that never gets returned, who shows up, covers the tab, and makes sure no one ends up sleeping in their car? That's me. I never complained because for a long time I thought that's just what family did. You step up, you take care of each other. And growing up without much, I told myself that when I made it, I'd make sure no one else in the family had to feel that kind of struggle again. But I've come to realize something. There's a huge difference between being generous and being taken for granted. And what happened on my birthday this year made that difference painfully clear. It was supposed to be a small but meaningful celebration, not extravagant, just intimate. People I loved, good food, a chance to catch up, laugh, and take a breather from our busy lives. I'd reserved a private room at a nice local restaurant, nothing over the top, but classy enough to feel like an occasion. I paid in advance to hold the room, $400 non-refundable. I even picked a place close to everyone's neighborhood, so nobody could use distance as an excuse. I created a calendar invite, emailed and texted it to each family member. Mom, Dad, my older sister Kendra, her husband Tom, my younger brother Jordan, even my cousin Ray and her boyfriend, who somehow got invited to every family event despite never reciprocating. I followed up with reminders the week before and again 2 days before just to be sure. The day came and I was excited. I wore the blazer my mom got me last Christmas, arrived 15 minutes early, double-checked that the staff had the cake ready, and waited. And waited. At first I brushed it off. My family runs late, maybe traffic, maybe someone's kid had a last-minute diaper explosion. I ordered a drink, scrolled through my phone, and smiled at the thought of everyone eventually piling in, out of breath and full of apologies. 30 minutes passed, then 45. Still no one. I texted the group chat, "Hey, everything okay? I'm here when y'all are ready." No reply. An hour in, I felt that first pang of something ugly, not anger, not yet, but a tight knot in my chest, embarrassment. I looked around the room, still perfectly set, candles flickering over untouched silverware. The waiter stopped by with a polite, pitying smile and asked if I'd like to order. I told him I'd wait another 10 minutes. That's when my phone buzzed with a notification from Instagram. I opened it, and my heart dropped. There it was. A new post from my sister Kendra. A group photo at a steakhouse. Not just her and her husband, but everyone. Everyone, Mom, Dad, Jordan, Ray, even cousin Ray's boyfriend grinning like this was the highlight of his month. The caption read, "Family night, grateful for the real ones." A flash felt like the air had been knocked out of me. I just stared at the screen, frozen. It didn't make sense. I scrolled through the comments. My aunt had replied, "Looks like so much fun, missing Marcus?" And Kendra had the nerve to comment back, "He had his own plans tonight, I think." My own plans? My own plans were to be sitting at this very table with them. I didn't even feel sad at first. I felt numb. Then the nausea kicked in. I didn't respond. I didn't comment, didn't text, didn't call. I stood up, handed the waiter a tip that cost more than the untouched drink I'd barely sipped, and walked out of that restaurant with my hands shaking. On the drive home, my emotions shifted from confusion to humiliation and finally, to something else entirely, clarity. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a scheduling error or a miscommunication. This was deliberate. And the worst part? It wasn't even the first time something like this had happened. I thought about last Christmas, when they forgot to tell me the dinner had moved to Jordan's house. I thought about the family group chat where I always seemed to get tagged last, or not at all. I thought about Kendra's bridal shower 5 years ago, how she made a speech thanking everyone but me, even though I'd paid for the damn cake and the custom decorations. I had written it all off as carelessness, as people being people, but this was intentional. This was exclusion dressed up in steak dinners and hashtags. And I started thinking about just how much I'd done for them over the years. The $500 I sent Mom every month to cover her rent in that senior apartment complex she loved. The fact that Dad hadn't paid for his car insurance out of pocket since 2018 because I'd automated it through my own bank account when he got laid off, and said, "I'll pay you back as soon as I'm on my feet again." Spoiler alert, he never did. Kendra and Tom's wedding photographer, me. Jordan's security deposit when he moved to Atlanta, also me. Ray's emergency dental bill? Yep, me again. I didn't keep score, I never rubbed it in, I just assumed they'd show me the same level of love and consideration when it mattered, like say, my birthday. When I got home, I sat on the couch in the dark. I wasn't crying, I didn't even feel like I could. I just kept refreshing that post, watching the likes go up like the world was confirming that I didn't matter to the people I prioritized most. I could have texted something snarky, I could have called and demanded answers, but instead, I did something else. I opened my banking app. The rent transfer for Mom? Canceled. Her building would send her a notice in a few days. The automated payment for Dad's car insurance? Gone. The policy would lapse if he didn't act fast. I went down the list. Each auto payment, each small favor, each silent, thankless transaction that had become part of my monthly routine, canceled one by one. And then, for good measure, I posted a story on Instagram. Not petty, not dramatic, just a photo of my untouched birthday cake with a caption that read, "Reminder, I'm the one who pays Mom's rent and Dad's car insurance." No hashtags, no tags, no names. But they saw it. I know they saw it, because the next morning my phone exploded. Missed calls from Mom, texts from Dad asking if everything is okay. Even Jordan sent a message. "Dude?" Kendra said, "You're being dramatic. We didn't think you'd care." Kendra, of course, had the gall to write, "Wow, if you had an issue, you could have said something. No need to air dirty laundry like that." Right. I was the one airing dirty laundry, not the people who ghosted me on my birthday for a family night I wasn't invited to. But I didn't answer, not one of them. I left every text on read, every call to ring out. I went silent. I wasn't even sure what I wanted from them. An apology, a reason. Maybe I just wanted them to sit in the silence for once, to feel the absence of me the way I'd felt theirs. Let the utilities lapse, let the rent notices pile up. Let them wonder if maybe, just maybe, the person they'd overlooked had finally stopped showing up. And the thing is, that was just the beginning. I didn't expect the silence to hit them so fast or so hard. By the afternoon, Mom had called 4 times. The last voicemail she left was oddly chipper. "Hey honey, not sure if you got my message earlier, just wanted to check in. I think something weird happened with the rent this month, maybe a glitch. Anyway, love you, call me." A glitch? Right. As if the sudden reversal of all financial help I'd been providing was some kind of bank hiccup and not a wake-up call with a siren blaring. Then Dad texted. "Got a notice about the insurance. You sure you didn't forget to update the card? Looks like it's overdue. Call me when you can." Like it was a minor oversight, like I had somehow dropped the ball, when the truth was, I'd been carrying the entire team for years. And then there was Kendra. "Oh, Kendra." Her first message was short and smug. "Seriously, Marcus, you're embarrassing yourself. We didn't exclude you, we just wanted a chill dinner. You're taking it way too personally." When I didn't respond, she followed up an hour later with, "You could have just said you felt left out. You didn't need to make Mom and Dad freak out like this." I stared at that one for a while. What got me wasn't even the gaslighting, it was how quickly she pivoted from mocking me to blaming me for the consequences of their actions. Like I had somehow caused all this by reacting to their cruelty instead of the fact that they'd orchestrated it in the first place. It wasn't about feelings, it was about a choice, a deliberate one. They didn't forget me, they didn't think I wouldn't care. They knew exactly what they were doing, and that realization, that hurt more than I thought it would. I didn't reply to her either, not because I didn't have words, but because I had too many, and none of them would have fixed the root issue. They only valued me for what I could give, not for who I was. The next few days were quiet, painfully so. No new posts from Kendra, no calls from Mom. But on the 4th day, Jordan showed up at my door, literally. I opened it and there he was, standing on my porch like he just popped over to borrow a lawnmower. Hoodie, hands in pockets, sheepish grin. "Hey man," he said, like everything was fine. I leaned against the doorframe. "Didn't realize you were in town." "Yeah, I drove up," he said. "Wanted to talk in person." I stepped aside and let him in. He walked past me like it was still his house, like we were still teenagers, like he hadn't skipped out on my birthday dinner without even a text. He sat on the couch and patted the cushion next to him. "You mad?" That question lit something in me. I didn't sit down. "Mad?" I repeated. "No, I was humiliated. There's a difference." He held up his hands. "All right, fair. But come on, you really think it was some big conspiracy? We just wanted a casual night out, nobody was trying to hurt you." I walked to the kitchen, grabbed a glass of water, just to give myself something to do, something to hold. I stared out the window for a second, then turned back to him. "Jordan, I wasn't invited." He frowned. "That's not true. Then why didn't anyone say anything when I sent the invites? Why did no one reply when I texted from the restaurant? Why did Kendra say I had other plans? You knew I was sitting alone in a private room and you posted a group photo like I was a stranger." He looked away for a second, rubbed his jaw. "We didn't think you'd care, man. You always seem so, I don't know, self-sufficient." I laughed, short, bitter. "You mean because I pay for everything? Because I never ask for anything in return?" He didn't say anything. "Yeah," I said, nodding. "That's what I thought." He looked uncomfortable. "Look, Mom and Dad are freaking out. They're saying the rent office called and Dad's worried about the car. Can you just maybe give them a heads up before you do stuff like this? I walked over slow and set the glass down on the coffee table. I've been giving them heads ups for years, Jordan. Every month, in the form of silent support, without complaint, without recognition. You don't get to show up now and ask me to do it louder just because you finally noticed the silence. He stood up, frustrated now. So what, you're just going to cut them off? You think you're punishing us, but you're just making everyone's life harder? No, I said calmly. You did that when you decided I wasn't family enough to sit at the table. He stared at me for a long moment, like he was trying to come up with something to say that wouldn't sound defensive or stupid. He didn't find anything. I should go, he muttered. I nodded once and opened the door for him. He paused on the threshold, turned back. This feels petty, Marcus. Then maybe you've forgotten what being left out feels like. I shut the door behind him, locked it. I stood there for a few minutes, my hand still on the knob, my heart pounding, not from the argument, but from the sheer weight of finally saying it out loud. I'd spent so long biting my tongue, convincing myself to be the bigger person, telling myself I didn't need acknowledgement, but the truth was, I did. I needed to matter. Not for what I provided, but for who I was. And for the first time in years, I wasn't going to apologize for expecting that. The fallout hadn't even begun. Mom was still pretending not to know what was happening. Dad was probably blaming it on expired credit cards. Kendra would go from smug to sulking the minute her next spa day got interrupted by a late payment from her Venmo request to Dad. I could already sense the storm brewing, but I wasn't afraid of it anymore. It took exactly 5 days for the mask to come off, 5 days of silence, 5 days without me swooping in to fix anything, cover any bills, or smooth over the messes they'd gotten too used to ignoring. On the 6th morning, I woke up to a voicemail from Mom. Not the chipper kind this time. Her voice was sharp, strained, and barely disguising the panic under the surface. Marcus, I don't know what's going on with you, but I just got a notice from the building manager. He says the rent still hasn't gone through, and if it's not resolved by Friday, they're going to start the eviction process. I don't understand. Why would you let that happen? Call me. I played the message twice, once to hear it and again to feel it. There was no "I'm sorry," no "we missed you," no recognition of what they'd done, just confusion that their golden goose had stopped laying rent payments. No mention of the birthday dinner, no mention of me, just the rent. 2 hours later, I got a similar message from Dad. His was more passive-aggressive. Hey kiddo, got a letter from the insurance company. Says the car is not covered anymore. You must have changed banks or something. Would have been nice to get a heads up. Anyway, I'm headed to the shop today, so let me know when it's fixed. When it's fixed. Not if. Not, can you help? Just the assumption that I'd jump right back in, once I'd made my point, like this was all some dramatic little performance I was staging for attention. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened the Notes app on my phone and started typing a list. Every expense I'd covered over the last 3 years. Rent, car insurance, prescription refills, utilities, wedding gifts, emergency loans, surprise birthday dinners for them. Over $42,000, give or take. I wasn't planning to send it, but it felt good to see it, to know that I hadn't imagined how much I'd done, because they clearly had. The turning point came the following Saturday. I was home working through some emails when my doorbell rang. I checked the camera. Kendra, hair done, sunglasses on, holding a tray of what looked like cupcakes, store-bought but repackaged in a decorative tin like that made it more personal. I almost didn't open the door. But some part of me wanted to see what she'd say face to face. I cracked the door open. Kendra, she gave a fake smile. Hey, thought I'd drop by, brought cupcakes. I didn't reach for them. Why? Her smile faltered. Because it's your birthday week. Well, it was. And I know things got a little weird. I leaned against the frame. Weird. She sighed dramatically. Okay, tense. But you've kind of made it tense, Marcus. You blew up the group chat with that post. I raised an eyebrow. I didn't say anything in the chat. You know what I mean, she said, brushing past me into the living room like she owned the place. You posted that whole thing about paying Mom's rent and Dad's insurance, and now everyone's freaking out thinking you're cutting them off. I shut the door and turned slowly. I didn't say I was cutting anyone off. But you did, Marcus, with the rent and the insurance and everything else. It's not just the money, it's the way you did it. You didn't talk to anyone, you didn't explain. I walked past her, sat down, and finally looked her in the eye. Kendra, did you explain to me why you organized a dinner across town with everyone but me? Did you talk to me before you made that decision? She blinked. Her business wasn't my dinner. Ray picked the place. I laughed, a hollow sound. Come on, you tagged everyone, you posted the photo, you left a comment saying I had my own plans. That was your message. Don't act surprised that I finally listened to it. Her expression darkened. This is what I mean. You're being dramatic. We didn't think you'd care. You're always doing your own thing, you never ask for anything. You always act like you're better than us. I stood up. No, I act like someone who has boundaries, and you know what? I don't ask for anything, because I learned a long time ago that asking doesn't work in this family unless you've got some guilt card to play. But I do show up. I pay, I support, I cover. And you know what I get in return? A seat behind the camera, a footnote in your lives. She put the tin of cupcakes on the table and crossed her arms. So what now? You want us to beg? You want an apology? I walked over, picked up the tin and handed it back to her. No, I said. I just want honesty. If you don't consider me family, that's fine, but don't smile to my face and then pretend I disappeared on my birthday. Don't take my money and then act like my absence is no big deal. You want things back to normal? That was never normal. Her face flushed. Mom's scared she's going to lose her place. Dad's car is uninsured. You're putting them in danger over some hurt feelings. No, I said quietly. They put themselves in danger when they built their lives on someone they clearly don't respect. I'm just stepping out of the role they wrote for me without my consent. For a moment, she didn't say anything, just stared at me, mouth slightly open, like she couldn't believe I was actually standing my ground. Then she turned, walked to the door, and paused before opening it. I hope this is worth it, she said. I hope it makes you think, I replied, and then she left. The fallout came quick after that. Mom called, crying 2 days later, not apologizing, just panicked. I don't know what we're supposed to do, she said. They said we have until Friday or they'll start the process. Why are you doing this, Marcus? Almost answered, almost. But instead I wrote something, a message I'd send once the dust settled, once I was sure they'd finally see me for more than just what I provided. I waited a full week before sending the message. 7 days of ignored texts, missed calls, and a group chat so eerily quiet you'd think someone passed away. Only they hadn't. They just lost their free ride, and they were starting to realize it. Mom texted me 5 times in one day, once to beg, once to guilt trip, and 3 more times to remind me she wasn't getting any younger and needed stability at her age. No mention of the birthday, no mention of the dinner, just the same cycle of expectations, only this time with a little more panic in her tone. Dad left me a voicemail that actually made me sit down. Marcus, I don't know what happened. I know we've made mistakes, your mother, your sister, me too, but this insurance situation is serious. If something happens, and I'm not covered, please son, don't make us pay for something Kendra did. That one hit different, not because of the guilt trip, but because of the truth in it. For once he acknowledged that someone had done something wrong and it wasn't me. That was new. Still, it didn't change the facts. He'd benefited just as much. He'd watched it happen over and over again, and silence is still complicity. So I sat down, pulled up my notes, and wrote the message. It wasn't emotional, it wasn't cruel, it was just honest. Hi everyone, I wanted to clarify a few things since there seems to be confusion. I didn't cut anyone off, I simply stopped doing things I was never thanked for in the first place. The rent, the car insurance, the bills. I did those things because I wanted to help, but I've come to realize that my support was never appreciated, just expected. I spent my birthday sitting alone in a restaurant I paid for. No one showed, no one texted. Instead, you all had a separate dinner and posted about it like I didn't exist. That wasn't an oversight, but that was a message, and I heard it loud and clear. So here's where things stand. I'm not going to pay for people who don't treat me like family. If that changes, we can talk, but until then, I'm prioritizing people who show up for me, not just my wallet. Marcus. I sent it. No fluff, no room for misinterpretation. I even watched the little scene by icons pop up one by one in the family group chat. Kendra first, of course. Then Ray. Then Mom. Then Dad. And then the flood began. Kendra responded almost instantly. Wow, I can't believe you'd air all this in front of everyone. Way to make us all feel like garbage. I didn't reply. Mom followed up a minute later. I understand you're hurt, but don't punish everyone over one night. We love you. We've always loved you. That one stung because it was technically true, but loving someone while constantly taking from them without care or respect, that's not love, it's ownership. Then Ray, I didn't even know it was your birthday dinner. Kendra just said you were doing your own thing. Don't drag me into this. Typical Ray, always the first to backpedal when accountability knocks. Dad didn't respond in the chat, but a couple of hours later he sent a private message. I messed up. You've done more for this family than any of us ever acknowledged. I let your sister run the show because it was easier. I should have stepped in a long time ago. You didn't deserve what happened. If you're open to it, I'd like to sit down, just us. That took me by surprise. I didn't answer right away. I let a few days pass, not out of pettiness, just to see what they'd do without me. Mom started dropping passive-aggressive Facebook posts. You know the type. Family isn't always about blood, and some people only do nice things so they can hold them over your head later. Kendra doubled down by posting Instagram stories of her new family dinners with her friends, complete with captions like, "At least these people show up." Ray went silent, which was probably for the best. And Jordan? He actually texted me. "Just wanted to say, I get it now. I thought you were overreacting, but yeah, that was low. If you ever want to hang out, just us, I'm down, no pressure." I stared at that message longer than I should have. Jordan had always been the one who floated somewhere in the middle, too passive to stand up for me, too loyal to Kendra to question her. But maybe now he was finally seeing what I saw. Still, I didn't reply. Not yet. A few more weeks passed. Mom missed her rent deadline, I knew, because her building sent me the overdue notice by mistake. I was still listed as her emergency contact. I didn't call them, I didn't pay. She figured it out eventually. Dad ended up missing a DMV renewal because his expired insurance lapsed in the system. He paid out of pocket. I know this because he updated his own policy without asking me first. First time in 6 years. Things were changing. And then, one Saturday morning, I got another knock on the door. This time, it was Dad. No warning, no call, just him standing on my porch holding 2 coffees. He looked older than I remembered, grayer, heavier around the eyes. I opened the door slowly. He drove all the way up here? He handed me one of the cups. "Didn't think you'd answer the phone." I stepped aside. We sat in silence for a while, just sipped our coffee, watched the neighborhood kids ride their bikes past the house. It felt normal, until he broke the silence. "I read your message a few times," he said. "I think I needed to see it in writing. I didn't realize how blind I'd been." I didn't say anything. I let Kendra do too much of the talking. She's always been the loud one, you've always been the quiet one, and I guess I just let her fill the space. I nodded slowly. "She didn't just fill it, Dad. She used it, weaponized it." He winced. Another pause. "I'm not asking for money," he added quickly. "I came here because I wanted to apologize. Not because I'm losing something, but because I already lost something. You and I don't want to keep doing that." That caught me off guard. It was the first real apology I'd ever heard from him that didn't come with a condition or an ask, just honesty. I set the cup down. "Thank you," I said. "That means more than you probably know," he nodded. "I'm not perfect, but I'm learning, and I hope one day the rest of the family learns too." After he left, I sat with it all, let it sink in. I wasn't angry anymore, not really. I was just tired. Tired of being the one who kept the engine running while everyone else got to ride in the passenger seat. But now they were finally learning what the road looked like without me. Weeks turned into months. Kendra eventually sent me a long email, half apology, half deflection. I didn't respond. Not because I hated her, but because I didn't trust her. Not yet. Mom called again a few times, each one a little softer, a little more like the woman I remembered growing up with. I answered the last one. We talked about nothing, about everything. She didn't ask for help. I didn't offer. That was the first real conversation we'd had in years. Jordan started visiting more. He even invited me to his new apartment, paid for on his own. He offered me a drink, and we sat on his mismatched couch and watched a game like brothers, who didn't need words to patch things up. I didn't go back to paying their bills, but I did start building something else. Boundaries, and weirdly, they started to respect them. Some days it was awkward, some days it was healing, but it was finally real. And on my next birthday, I didn't make a reservation, I didn't send invites, I didn't pay for a single thing. Instead, I let people show me what they were willing to bring to the table,